Most men genuinely think they're doing everything right, providing, showing up, being loyal, staying consistent, and they still end up hearing, I just don't feel close to you anymore. Or I feel alone even when you're right here, and the man is completely blindsided. Because in his head, he's been doing everything. Fixed the car, paid the bills. Showed up every day. What more is there? That question, felt quietly or said out loud, is exactly where I want to start. Because the answer is something most men were genuinely never taught. Not because they're bad people, just because nobody ever explained how women actually experience connection. What they need to feel close. What actually makes them feel loved versus what just like love from the outside. So let's get into it. Presence versus availability. These are not the same thing. Most men are available. They're in the house, not out doing something else, physically there, and in their mind, that counts. That's showing up. But presence is something completely different. Presence means when she's talking, you're actually listening, not waiting for your turn, not half watching your phone, not already thinking about tomorrow, actually in the conversation, actually with her. Women don't experience availability as closeness. They experience presence as closeness. And those two things can look identical from the outside, but feel completely different from the inside. Think about a lighthouse and a lamppost. Both give off light. Both are there every night. But a lighthouse is actively scanning, turning, reaching outward, paying attention to what's out there in the dark. A lamppost just stands there and glows in one fixed direction. A lot of men are lampposts in their relationships. The light is on, they're there. But nothing is actively reaching toward her. The shift from available to present isn't complicated. It just requires something most men were never taught to prioritize: genuine, undivided attention, given freely. Without an agenda. Put the phone face down. Turn toward her when she talks. Let the conversation finish before your brain moves to the next thing. That's presence. And it changes everything. She's not asking you to fix it. She's asking you to hear it. This one causes more quiet frustration in relationships than almost anything else. When a woman brings up a problem, a rough day, a conflict with someone, something that's been sitting heavy on her, most men immediately shift into solution mode. She mentions she's stressed about work and he's already 3 steps ahead with advice. She talks about a hard conversation with a friend and he's telling her what she should have said. She shares something that's bothering her and he explains why it's actually not that serious. And then she goes quiet, and he has no idea why. Because he helped. He solved it. Here's what's actually happening. She didn't come to him because she needed the problem fixed. She came because she didn't want to carry it alone. She needed someone to sit in it with her, to hear it, to say, yeah, that sounds really hard. I get why that's bothering you. That's it. That's the whole thing she needed. The fix, offered too fast, without enough listening first, communicates something unintentional. It says, I want this conversation to be over. Let me close it so we can move on. Even when that's absolutely not the intention. Most men are fixers because they care. They don't want her to hurt, so they rush toward the solution. But the rushing is what breaks the moment, because it treats the feeling like the problem. And when your feelings are treated as problems to be solved quickly, you stop sharing them. And when she stops sharing them, he thinks everything is fine. And she's sitting there carrying things alone. Inside a relationship where she should feel least alone. What emotional safety actually means in practice. This phrase gets thrown around a lot. Emotional safety. And most men hear it and think, I don't yell at her. I don't hurt her. She's safe. What else is there? But emotional safety in a relationship means something more specific. It means I can tell you something real about how I feel, and you won't minimize it. You won't immediately problem solve it. You won't make me feel dramatic for having the feeling. You'll just let it exist. And stay in the room with me while it does. That's it. That's what it actually means day to day. And it's harder than it sounds. Because when the woman you love is in pain, the instinct is to make it stop immediately. That instinct comes from a good place. But the rushing toward the fix is what destroys the safety, because it sends a message she never wanted to receive. Your feelings are an inconvenience. Let's get past them quickly. So she learns, slowly, quietly, to keep things to herself. and he wonders why she seems distant. There's a direct line between a man who can't sit with uncomfortable emotions and a woman who eventually stops bringing them. Understanding that line and deciding to change it is one of the most meaningful things a man can do in a relationship. Why men don't do these things naturally? Here's something worth saying out loud. Most men weren't raised to talk about feelings. They were raised to manage them, push through them, not make a big deal out of them. So when a woman wants to process emotions out loud, it genuinely feels foreign, uncomfortable, even unnecessary to a man who is taught that feelings are private and brief. This isn't weakness, it's just a different emotional education. The problem is, she had a completely different one. She was likely encouraged to talk about how she felt, to process things with people she trusted, to see emotional expression as connection rather than vulnerability to be managed. So they come into a relationship with two completely different internal rulebooks, and nobody told either of them the other one existed. Understanding that gap, just understanding it, shifts something, because it stops being about who's wrong and starts being about what's actually different between how they were wired, and different can be bridged. Wrong is a dead-end dot. What actually changes things, okay? Practical now. Real things. The next time she's talking about something that's bothering her, try this. Before you say anything else, ask one question, just one. Tell me more about that. Or how did that make you feel? Not as a technique, as genuine curiosity. Give her room to go deeper before you respond at all. You'll be surprised how much the whole energy of the conversation shifts just from that. When something good happens in her life, match her energy. If she's excited, be excited with her. Not performed excitement. Just don't be flat when she's lit up. Women remember the moments their partner couldn't meet them in joy just as much as the moments they couldn't meet them in pain. Check in without a reason. Just occasionally, during a regular day, ask how she's actually doing, not as a formality. Pause and actually wait for the real answer. And when she tells you something that matters to her, write it down if you have to. Bring it back later. That act of remembering is not a small thing to her. It's proof that she's seen the real gap. Here's the honest truth underneath all of this. Most men love deeply. That's not the issue. The issue is that love without understanding the other person's language doesn't always land the way it was meant to. You can love someone completely and still leave them feeling unseen, not because you don't care, because you're expressing it in a way that doesn't translate. Learning her language isn't weakness. It's not losing yourself. It's just deciding that being understood matters less than making sure she feels understood. That shift from expressing love the way that's natural to you to expressing it in the way she actually receives it, that's the whole thing. It's not complicated. But it does require paying attention. And paying attention, real, consistent, unhurried attention, is something you can start doing today, not tomorrow. Not when things get bad enough that you have to, today.